technical. Oh, thank you. So I'm going to put that on, okay, so that you know. And whenever the 1 minute is approaching, then you will know, okay? So I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Eva. Thank you for the invite to speak at today's conference. Whilst nobody here really falls into the elderly bracket, we are very aware that this will affect our lives in the future. So it's really good that we're talking about it today. And I'd like to talk about digital poverty. So digital poverty, despite what it might sound like, actually doesn't have anything to do with whether you're economically poor or not. In fact, it's defined as a lack of ICT, and it might be a feature of any population group. And the efforts of digital inclusion are to expand ICT access to all population groups. And it's a really fast-changing area because, of course, technology is also developing at a rapid pace. There are lots of different opinions and information out there on digital poverty and digital inclusion, but statistics quickly become meaningless because the population changes so fast and because the markers with which we define such aspects as digital poverty and digital inclusion also change rapidly. There are reports, however, such as the report by the Poverty and Social Exclusion Centre, which provides new evidence that government efforts to move services online are particularly disadvantaging low-income groups, including older people and those with disabilities. And today our conference is about ageing, so I'm going to focus on those low-income groups of older people. So as I said before, we're going to talk about digital poverty. And the main determinant of digital poverty is age. There are other significant factors which are often combined with low income. Those factors include disability, learning difficulties, ethnic origin, location, culture, and language. And here I'd like to emphasise the intersectional nature of all of these factors, which really come together to influence people's access to ICT. So in saying that, I believe that it's not just one factor such as disability, but it's the intersectionality of all of these factors which come together to impact the person involved. So why would elderly people not use the internet? Well, there are many reasons that Age UK, which is the organisation which was referred to previously by Veronica, and they have done a few surveys which have tried to find out the reasons for elderly people not using the internet. Examples ranged from, I don't need it, so this kind of idea that they've continued to function well without it, so they don't need it now, a sort of stubbornness. The fact that it's difficult to use. This could be linked to a previous experience where a person may have tried to use the internet and felt a fear of the internet, or might have been embarrassed about not knowing what to do and asking for help. A lack of awareness that it actually exists, which is quite difficult to believe. The cost, so the router or the modem, and also the equipment that comes with using the internet. And then linked to all of these, a lack of skills and training. And finally, a concern about privacy and security. And we've got to remember actually that the internet has exposed us to a huge amount of privacy violations, and we willingly give our contact details. This is something that's very alien to elderly people. So you can see why, in order to sign up for any service where you need to give your contact details or your personal information, they might feel wary about this. So now I'd like to focus on government services. So the internet is becoming ever more a part of the fabric of our society. And basic digital literacy is assumed, in fact, by companies such as Apple or by government services. And those who are not included within this digital literacy bracket are missing out on the increasing number of advantages, particularly financial. So significant numbers of people who are unable to move online for the reasons I've outlined above, or who are not computer literate, might miss out on crucial government services. And the issue I'd like to raise here is universal credit. Universal credit is the lump benefit that has replaced, I believe, 9 different separate benefits available in the UK. Universal credit is only available to apply for online. Now, yes, you could probably go down to the job centre and use their ICT equipment to apply, but it's very difficult to get an appointment, and an elderly person might not know where to start. So something as basic as universal credit, which is an amalgamation of job seekers' allowance, of tax credits, of working tax credits, is something that they can't access anymore. And interestingly enough, people who are digitally excluded are likely to be disproportionately heavy users of government services. So this is really a perfect storm. They're the people that most need the government services, but they're not able to access them. So we live in this digital by default age. The strong feeling, though, amongst people who are surveyed by Age UK is that those who do not want to use government services online should not have to. They should have the right to access these services by alternative means. For example, in person, by post, on the telephone. But it's actually not just government services that have been affected by the digital revolution. Take something as mundane as self-service checkouts at supermarkets or touchscreen interfaces at train stations. These are meant to increase the efficiency of paying for products, but many older people really struggle with these systems, and they can often feel anxious when they're forced to use them. And in the worst cases, I believe, this can cause older people to stop using these services altogether, for instance, not using the transport system, and this restricts their independence. Furthermore, for many older people living alone, the daily interaction with staff at the supermarket instead of the self-service checkout really provides a lifeline when you're experiencing loneliness. So it's not just these vital basic needs such as government services, but also kind of the social aspect that needs to be addressed. And there are in fact many social benefits of using the internet. It's been proven that using the internet alleviates loneliness and social isolation, and it fosters a sense of community amongst users. There are also educational benefits to internet use. Think of the wide plethora of information we have access to. So the number of people who have never used the internet or have used the internet in the past but now don't is estimated at 8.37 million adults over the age of 16. This is in the UK. And 5.59 million of those are over the age of 65. So by this measure, 2/3 of all digital exclusion is among those over 65 and over. This is a real civil rights issue. It's possible that we might have reached a tipping point because for the first time, the number of people over the age of 65 who've used the internet has overtaken those who've never used it. But let's not forget these people that have fallen through the gaps, because it's not just for fun for using social networks, but it's how they get their winter fuel payment, for example. As I said, this tipping point is positive, but what about those who've been left behind by the tech age? The interventions to reduce digital exclusion of older people haven't been very effective. There's little direct or credible evidence about projects to combat digital exclusion. And in fact, there are no detailed evidence-based reports. There are just ad hoc projects that run. So, in conclusion, we're very, very aware of this civil rights issue, but there's been no concerted, systematic government and also agency-led, charitable-led approach to involving older people in the digital economy. And as I said before, digital exclusion is a civil rights issue. People's lives are being detrimentally affected by this issue, and that's why I'm so encouraged by today's conversation and all of the interesting contributions we're going to have. as they'll tell us more about how maybe we can improve the lives of those living in digital poverty. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alice. I must say it was quite a pessimistic overview. I was expecting more of how the elderly are embracing the technological advancement and how it's making their life easier. And obviously I wouldn't be myself, but if I didn't ask you, what do you think can be done? How can we overcome all those challenges? Do you have any ideas? What is it there to be done to improve the current state of affairs? Yes, please, yes.
So I'll start off with a very, very pessimistic point. The people who are over the age of 70, 80, their lives are coming to an end, and people who are younger have been brought up with the digital revolution. So in fact, this problem might not be a long-term problem, it might be a short-term problem. That's very pessimistic. But on the one hand, we should fight the digital revolution, so we should enable older people to use it, whether that's allowing them access to library courses that teach them the skills, or groups together, or the very good befriending program by Age UK, which brings younger people into older people's houses to use the internet. But also, you know, maybe this is the retrograde aspect of myself, but actually, what's wrong with having personal interaction at supermarkets or at ticket machines? It also encourages jobs for people. So when you remove those, you do have one person standing at the line of electronic checkouts, but actually you've removed a number of jobs. So it might be beneficial for everybody to remove technology from that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. I like that you're finishing on a more positive note because I am definitely a person with a glass half full, not half empty. I do like your suggestion about the courses and about having that personal touch, personal contact. I know